Hi guys, Breitschwert here again. Today we will be looking at Chivalry, Medieval Warfare and the Man-at-Arms class. The Man-at-Arms class is basically an agile and mobile class which relies heavily on dodging and quick weapons. It does so because it has low health and can only use a small selection of shields which are also small. So the class is basically for advanced players. It's very dangerous if used correctly, but it's also rather vulnerable. During combat you need to stay out of the range of the enemy's weapons most of the time. This is especially true if the enemy is using two-handed large weapons or two-handed long weapons, so like the two-handed warhammer for the knight class or spear weapons for the vanguard class. Also you need to make sure that you learn how to dodge. Sideways dodging and backwards and forwards dodging are rather required skills to get the Man-at-Arms class right. So make sure to practice that whenever you have the time. And also try to learn how to strike around shields, it's as easy as that. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the idea of being able to strike around the enemy's blocks by moving your weapon in a way that the enemy cannot see or doesn't really follow the tip of your weapon, so your strike lands regardless of their blocking motion. For weapons, the Man-at-Arms class uses swords, axes and maces. Axes and maces being high damage weapons against respective targets, like axes being good against unarmored targets, while maces are good against armored targets, like the knight. And swords being good all-around weapons that can strike fast, stab reasonable distances, especially with warping around, also called dodging, and having decent swings and overhead attacks, which are usually used to throw your enemy off guard. Strategy-wise, facing knights with shields should be your hardest opponent. Against those you should try to keep out of range, wait for their strikes to miss, and then go in and try to hit them during their cooldown. For advanced strategies you can try to get in hits around their shields, for example by doing an overhead then cancelling it, and while they try to block into the left direction, get a stab in from the right around their shield, while also moving to the right or trying to use a dodge maneuver to do so. Knights without shields are easier to deal with, but be wary because they usually tend to use higher damage weapons which are very dangerous against you because they can kill you in 2 hits or even less if you're already damaged. Keep out of range against those, be wary of counterattacks after you get in a few good strikes. Usually knights without shields tend to go into a rage where when you get a few hits in they try to spam an attack and usually are able to pull it off because their heavy weapons, once they get past the charge up time, will strike anyway even if you hit them. Fighting vanguards is basically like fighting a knight without a shield, but they can use longer range weapons, so, like spears or pole axes, so you need to make sure that your movement is adapted accordingly. The enemy has less health, so once you get in close and start chipping away, they should go down more easily, so they are less of a threat, but can also be very dangerous in good players' hands. Fighting another MAA is usually like, you already know their strategies, they are highly mobile, they have less health, they can run out of stamina from dodging too much, they can run out of stamina from blocking too much, so they will usually try to keep at range and then lunge forward in a dodge maneuver and try to get a stab in as quickly as possible, while then either doing combo attacks or retreating to wait for another opportunity. To fight them, be wary of not charging in blindly once you hear them exhausted, because they can still start normal attacks. So it's not a good indicator to attack them wildly once they are exhausted. It can work, but it's not always a guaranteed kill. Feinting is required to fight defensive players, because when they are using shields or when they are good at blocking manually, you need to throw them off guard. And if the enemy is using shields, as with the knight, try to get steps around the shield with dodging, fast movement, or generally throwing them off guard by doing an attack and then combo attack. So this is the last video from my little series of how to duel in Chivalry Medieval Warfare. I hope you liked the series, and if you have any comments, please let me know, and I hope I will talk to you soon. Bye!